Well, good day. This is Iron Horse here again, and there's several things I want to talk about actually, and it's very hard to get a word in edgewise on a lot of these toxic sites that I call them. They're the ones that call themselves the Globers and say, "Come and argue the flat. Give me the flat Earth example. Give me some proofs for the flat Earth." And so you sit there in the comments and you sit there waiting to be allowed up so you can talk, and you know what? They don't like you. So the one I was going to start with today is a very simple one, and that's to do with satellites. Now, Glurfs like to think that we have satellites providing heaps of our communication. The fact of the matter remains is at least 96% of all communications, electronic communications, the internet, is done via undersea cables. This is easily verifiable and proven. The GPS system does not work off satellites. It works off ground positioning system, which is all those towers you see. Every single town has had one of those big towers since before you were a little child. I bet not one of you can remember ever being in a town that has a post office and also has a telecommunications tower somewhere, usually fenced off to stop the young kids from climbing it, as we often did when we were teenagers. These things have always existed. It's basically the LoRaN system, which is those drum things you see. They're just constantly pinging out signals. So every one of them is on a timer. Everyone can be detected. So the distance to get that signal pinged to you is what our devices are picking up on. And because there's now so many, hundreds of them, thousands of them, you only need 3 to triangulate. So you've got a very accurate positioning system, and you don't need cell phone service for the GPS to work, because radio signal, in case you haven't known, goes for thousands and thousands of miles. Back in the 80s, I watched a guy use a backyard, slightly not entirely legal radio system to talk directly from Newcastle, Australia to Hawaii, interfering with a serious rescue mission, guys in helicopters. He was being a dick, and I'd done my radio certificates. I knew that you shouldn't be doing that, mate. It's an official channel. You leave them alone. But all his system was quite illegal. So we have easy communication. Now let's think of the spinning space ball for a second, shall we? Let's try and understand the mind of a Glurf. They believe they live on a spinning ball, and all they ever want to think about is a 25,000 mile rotation that they do every 24 hours. And so even though they acknowledge that that's faster than the speed of sound, in fact it's 1 1/3 times the speed of sound at the equator, they really can't apply this logic to what it's like to be in outer space. They just think that the only speeds we have to consider is that rotational speed. So they think a satellite 22,000 miles away can be going 17,500 miles per hour around us and stay geostationary. Hello? There's an orbital speed, as I keep describing. I can make videos with graphics and that sort of shit another time. Orbital speed, 88 Mach. Railgun projectile, 8 Mach. 10 times faster than a railgun projectile. I mean, you watch the jet breaking the speed barrier. That's slower than our axial rotation. But you try and put 10 times faster than a railgun projectile, or 88 times the speed of that supersonic jet breaking the sound barrier, going through the vacuum of space. We also know the sun is also going 514,000 miles per hour, which is about 670 Mach, in a completely other direction. But let's just pretend for the moment the sun is perfectly still. Well, you can't do that. You can't, because the heliocentric model falls apart. What I was getting told the other day by one of the better Glurfers, Stingray, credit to you, mate, you're a good bloke to talk with, is that you were saying basically that everything is in free fall. So the Earth is in free fall through the galaxy. The sun's in free fall. We're spinning around the sun in free fall. The moon is in free fall, spinning around us, also spinning around the sun, around the barycenter. And all these satellites also in free fall, are spinning around us in free fall, as we're in free fall, rotating around the sun 10 times faster than a railgun projectile. Now you try and put all this shit together. Free fall speed basically in our atmosphere is 9.8 meters per second squared. And eventually, because of the air resistance, you will reach this point of terminal velocity. That's what happens with air resistance. In the vacuum of space, you've got no air resistance. So free fall is now technically faster than the speed of light. Because this is what they say when some of the flat earthers, who are the idiot ones that say that the Earth is rising 9.8 meters per second squared to give us gravity, they will say, well, then by now it's going faster than the speed of light. Well, the same thing applies to your free fall motion going the other way, dropping. But we're also dropping around the sun, and the satellites are dropping around the sun with us and dropping around us, staying geostationary every day. None of it makes any sense. None of it. It makes no sense whatsoever that one thing in free fall has reached the speed of light is the fastest speed anything can go. So how can something be wrapping around that and wrapping around the sun? It doesn't work. Satellites cannot work on the spinning space ball. You cannot have everything in free fall motion. The satellite needs to accelerate and decelerate to go around us as we travel 1.6 million miles every day in order to stay geostationary to us. And it cannot do that in a vacuum of space because there's nothing to thrust through, there's nothing to steer off, and there's nothing to brake from. You can't have it. The heliocentric model is dead. Satellites destroy the globe. And the globers are the ones that believe in them so much. I can go for 10 minutes. On the stationary planar Earth, we have what we call satelloons. NASA and other companies make these helium balloons, which are the size of football stadiums. They are massive balloons. These things can lift certain technology up into the higher stratosphere above the weather, so there's no more winds, there's nothing to push them around, and they have little release valves in them in some cases so that as they expand and expand and expand to the point of bursting, they release sufficient amount of helium so that they equalize. Now you've got a geostationary satelloon or satellite, a piece of technology. You can get limited amount of signal back and forwards from. It's not going to be very great. But imagine if we were really hurtling 67,000 miles per hour around the sun going 514,000 miles per hour in another direction, how something going 17,500 miles per hour on top of all those speeds around us from 22,000 miles away is supposed to give us a strong signal to give us an exact location of where we are. And you need multiple of them at a time. Satellites destroy the spinning space ball. The stationary planar Earth is the only thing that can make sense of all the technology we use to this day. Satelloons, blimps, we've got various drones and spy planes and all sorts of other stuff above there, but if they had to act in accordance to the motions that you Helioists religiously believe in, all hail Lucifer the light bearer, Helios, the centre of your solar system. Earth is flat and stationary. Get back to reality.